Alright, how's it going? Welcome back. This is a couple weeks in. I've had this machine here. It's a Pavoni Europiccola for about, 2-3 weeks. Been making coffee every day, and this is going to be an uncut walkthrough of my morning routine and showing you what I've learned over the past couple of weeks. So, one of the first things that we do obviously is turn on the machine. There's two settings on this pre-millennium model. So I set it to setting 2. That basically uses the full power of the, I think, 1000 watt heating element inside. If there wasn't already a full tank in it already, I would have filled it with water, but there is water in it, so we're good to go. Something that I learned, which this is where it gets interesting, is the importance of thermals in terms of temperature of two particular things: the portafilter and basket, and the group head here. So I used to find that my first shot was extremely watery and not very tasty at all. Very acidic, very watery, under-extracted, not very pleasant. When you push down on the lever, it gave you very, very little resistance. So what I started to realize was that the second shot was always better. I wouldn't change anything in terms of tamp, grind size, or dose. The only thing that seemed to be different was temperature. So in understanding that, I decided to heat up the portafilter and basket along with purging the group head with boiling water once the tank gets up to boil. I found that generally makes the espresso a lot more complex, extracted properly, and I don't know why, but the resistance seems to be considerably higher when you are pulling this shot as well, just based off of thermals, which I found to be quite interesting. I'm not entirely sure if that's the real reason, but in terms of my day-to-day, that seems to work best. So what I do to heat this while that's heating up is actually I stick this in the sink under the hottest water I can get, and I leave it there for about 30 seconds, and then I dry it off, or I dry, the outside, and I dry the basket so that the coffee bean doesn't stick to it. So I'm going to toss this in the sink right now for a little bit and just get it to heat up a little bit. Alright, you'll have to excuse the background noise, but while it's doing that, another thing I like to prepare is make sure I have all my things that I need. So I've got a tamper now, finally, and I've got a nice little microfiber which I use to actually tamp the basket on. It's a lot easier than actually using the surface of the table here to tamp there. I just kind of put the basket here, and I put the basket back in the portafilter, since there is no locking ring that keeps the basket in place. Keep my milk pitcher here if I'm going to be doing milk. I also use it to purge the group head since it fits kind of perfectly underneath. If we want, we can go and grab our new milk. So this is kind of the milk I've been using. It's really good. So I think that portafilter is about done. This is the oat milk barista edition. So what I've generally found is that this has a higher fat content, and it's really, really good for foaming, steaming milk. I think this one's actually brand new. I haven't opened it yet. There you go. It's kind of a small container. Yeah, it's about 32 fluid ounces, as it says there. This is the stuff I worked with back in the cafe. I thought this was delicious. I just, the moment I tried it, it became my immediate replacement for whole milk, almond milk, anything like that. I don't know why. It's really creamy. It's got a great texture, and it's just very, very good. And they also make a normal drinking version. Well, there's 3. There's the regular, the low fat, and the extra fat versions of the drinking ones, which are larger containers. But for coffee and latte art, this is the one that I use. I suggest it heavily if you are into milk alternatives. This is delicious, and I think that you would really like it. So the machine's still heating up. Portafilter's done heating, so we're going to take it over here, dry it off, and then dose some coffee. Alright, so as you can see, looks the same. I take the basket out because there's no locking ring. and I just towel dry the inside of the basket. Obviously, once you lose some of the hot water, you start to lose some of the heat. And obviously against my hand, because my hand is colder than the basket, you'll start to lose some of the heat as well. However, the portafilter, being such a thick piece of metal, actually retains heat very, very well. So that's great. Grinder we're using is the Baratza Virtuoso with a grind by weight attachment on the bottom. So it's basically just a scale that weighs your dose. I'm on setting 3, which is considerably finer than their website says. They say that you should be grinding on dial 8 for espresso. I found that that was way too coarse, so I needed to bring it down finer, and I found that grind setting 3 is actually really good. My dose is 13.8 grams. This is obviously a 14 gram basket, so I could go up to 14 grams, but I found 13.8 gives me a nice balance between extraction and just gives me nice flavors consistently every day, so that's pretty good. We're gonna grind, get our little tamping setup ready. What we use for tamping is actually this piece here. Our thing is getting up to boil right now, so we need to start getting serious. So you'll take the basket. I've got this little funnel from my AeroPress, which fits the portafilter basket perfectly. Give your coffee a little bit of a bang. Knock it into the portafilter basket. Give it a good shake. Now, this is the kind of interesting part. I don't have a leveler, so what I do is I actually knock it like this against the surface. That gives me a nice smooth surface and at least spreads out the beans. I might use my finger sometimes. Give it another couple knocks. Make sure everything is nice and flat. This is up to boil. So now, you can turn that down to setting 1 for the time being. For the tamp, just a standard tamp. Press down nice and evenly. Twist a little bit. Make sure that it's nice and evenly tamped. Give it a look. Some loose beans, so we'll just give it one more quick push. Now that that's done, back in the portafilter basket. I'm going to stick this under here. Purge the group head. Suddenly, that becomes extremely hot. So you know that you're good to go. I'm going to grab a mug. I don't have any special latte mugs yet. We're getting there. So, got our basket, got our machine nice and hot. I'm going to lock this in place here. Turns the opposite way of a normal espresso machine. I like to let a little bit of water in just before I feel some resistance and then lock it all the way in place. Then you pull the lever all the way up for about 6 seconds. That introduces water to the group head and begins a pre-infusion. About 6 seconds in, now you're going to pull down with equal pressure for about 25 to 30 seconds. So that was about 27 seconds. Crema looks pretty nice. Not as nice and smooth as usual. It's got a little bit of inconsistency, but that's alright. So next thing we're going to do is foam some milk. Obviously this is getting a bit long. It's a bit of a crazy morning routine, but actually I don't mind it. I think it's quite nice. Now that we're here, fill it just below the spout, pop that lid back on, and what you want to do at that point is turn it back up to setting 2. That allows the steam to start building in the tank again. You've got your oat milk here. You're going to set up underneath the spout. Set it up like you normally steam milk, just above the surface of the milk, and then you're going to turn it on. Once you've finished texturing the milk, you're going to lower the wand into the pitcher here. Get that milk to spin around a bit. Maybe get a bit more foam in there because it looks a little on the thin side. It's almost hot to the touch, so I'm going to turn it off. Lots of big bubbles. Not exactly what we want to see, but this wand is notorious for producing inconsistent milk. We're done with that. So, that is your, oh boy, that's your espresso. That's your milk. And we're going to give it our best go at a simple latte heart. The foam is a little on the thin side, but that could be worse. I'm going to set up here, knock any big bubbles out of it, and we're going to go for it. Aiming for the middle, not to disturb the crema. And then not the best heart I've ever made. I made a really nice one the other day, and I was super impressed by it. But there you go. That is a oat milk latte. It looks good, I think, for a morning routine. Tastes good too. Anyway, hope you liked it. Hope that wasn't too long. Thanks for watching.